Well, hello there everyone. It's Nina Marie. Thanks for joining me today for another video. Today I'm going to be sharing some projects that I made using the Simon Says Stamp limited edition gift giving card kit. Now I will preface this video by saying that if you miss out on the card kit because it is limited edition, do know that the stamps, dies, pattern papers, and many of the other products that I'm using today from the kit are all available for individual purchase, so you can find these items outside of the kit as well. But the kit is a great value and features a lot of fun accessories and embellishments that you can use with the products that are included. So I made a series of tags that I'm going to be sharing today. One of them is interactive. It's this cute little door. But I also did make quite a few other projects outside of the video. So at the very end, I will be sharing some pictures of the additional projects that I made using the limited edition gift giving kit. One of the main products in this kit is the beautiful Wrapped in Love stamp set. It features this beautiful door image and lots of other imagery that you can use to accessorize your door, or you can use those images on their own as the focal point for your project. The door also features a coordinating die which comes in the kit, but at the same time as while it cuts out the door around the shape itself, it also cuts down the middle and around the sides of the door frame so that you can actually open the door and it's interactive. It's super cool and such a great way to be able to create an interactive touch to your cards or tags. So I'm going to show you how I fold it along the edge of the score line. I just do it a little at a time so that I don't bend the door frame. And that's going to give you a really nice crease. The door will then open and close flawlessly and will reveal whatever hidden pictures or messages you want to put inside. I did watercolor these doors off camera with Simon Says Stamp ink cubes. I love using our Simon Says Stamp ink cubes for watercoloring because they do react with water and they create such beautiful bright colors. There is another aspect of the Wrapped in Love door die, and that is this tag panel. This comes with that door die and allows you to turn this door into a shaped tag, which is super cool. You don't have to use the door tag. If you wanted to use this on a card, you would just skip using that die. There are also dies in the set that allow you to cut out the windows of the door. So if you wanted to, you could make those door windows actually see-through. You could put acetate or vellum behind them and create a really beautiful effect. So I'm going to pop my door frame up onto the tag shape. I just wanted some dimension here, but you could glue this directly onto the tag itself. This door that I'm holding right now is going to be a tag, but the red door I actually turned into a gift card holder. This layers up perfectly into the center of the tag, and of course it does make the hole at the top so that all you have to do is string a little bit of ribbon or twine through it to form your tag. I did not cut out the windows of my doors because I wanted to color them, but if you wanted to, you could have done that, and then it would allow you to have a peek as to what's inside. I'm going to put some different things inside of my door, and we'll get to that in just a minute, but I want to stamp out my accessories. As part of the Wrapped with Love stamp set, there are lots of little evergreen, pine trees, wreaths, just a beautiful assortment of little images that you can use to accessorize your door. I'm using a couple of Simon Says Stamp ink cubes here. This was cabbage, and I also have kale. I'm starting first with the cabbage to stamp a base layer of color down onto my pieces. Then I brought in kale, and I'm going to ink up the images in just certain sections so that I can feather out that ink and then stamp this over top of the cabbage to create some shading. If you need to, you can always go back over your stamping again with another color of ink to smooth out your transitions, but I really love the shaded effect that this provides. By using that blending brush, it really softens that line that you get when you ink up your stamp. I then pulled out a stamping block because I'm going to freehand stamp some of the smaller images that I'm using as accessories. Because I want to stamp quite a few of the same image, I just felt it was faster and easier to stamp with a clear block. And yes, it's not perfect. I did have to restamp a couple of images because I didn't stamp them right the first time, but that's all right. It allowed me to get a quicker application of these little tiny bows onto a piece of scrap paper easily without having to try to line this up in my MISTI tool. Then I brought in some of these lantern images. I love these. These I think are a great accessory to either the ground below your door, or you can use them as outdoor lights, which I did on the gift card holder. I turned a couple of them into outdoor lights, but then I also used one of the lanterns inside of my door as just a little accessory at the bottom. So you get to see it both ways. I did stamp these with embossing ink and then embossed them with gold embossing powder. And because these are solid stamped images, this is just giving me a nice, beautiful metallic finish to them without having to color them. And by putting the embossing powder down first, that allows me to see where my first round of stamping was, so that way I don't overstamp anything. I decided to stamp inside the door after I assembled. I wanted to know where everything was within the door frame, and I knew that with the single layer of foam strips in there, I would be able to still stamp inside of the door. So I'm going to line up my to and from inside of there and then ink that up with black ink, just being careful not to get any ink on the door of my Misty so that it transfers to the door tag. But now I have my awesome to and from stamped inside. Then I'm going to open the doors and freehand stamp a couple of snowflakes within that space. If you wanted to, you could stamp all of this before assembling the door. It is easier so you're not having to hold these doors open as you work, but I really wanted to know where everything was within my space that I had to work with, so that's why I went this route. Then I'm going to start gluing some of my little accessory pieces inside of the door. I have this cute little tree in a bucket, and then I'm also adding the little lantern next to it. I did decide to do a little bit of ink blending within the lantern using a Simon Says Stamp ink cube and a very small blending brush just to apply a little golden glow within the lantern. And then I glued both of those into the door using just some liquid glue. I still have lots of room to write the to and from in there, and I love that it has the interactive doors that open up so that you can reveal who this gift is for. Next thing I brought in were the little wreaths that I stamped. I had stamped a couple of them, and I decided I wanted to add a little glow to the center of the wreaths. So that way it looks like the wreath has been cut out in the center. I don't have the coordinating dies for this set, so I was having to fussy cut all of these images. Having the coordinating dies would make it so much easier. But I wanted the yellow to match the yellow that's on the windows here to look like there is light on inside. So I glued both of these wreaths to the door, and then I added a couple of little bows on top to make them look festive. I also have this really nice long sprig of pine needles, and I decided to cut it in half so that I could more easily maneuver it around the door because I want part of it to kind of tuck inside too. So this just gave me a little bit more flexibility with its placement. I'm using some liquid glue to allow me to attach this down, but it's also giving me a little bit of wiggle room so that way I can finesse it into place. Once that has had a chance to adhere, it's not going anywhere. And then I'm going to bring in the other side of my little sprig and we'll glue that to the other side of the door. This does overlap a little bit, so it just goes to show you it's the right size. I just wanted more flexibility with how this is being placed around my doors. And by cutting it in half, that gave me the flexibility that I wanted. So I'm just going to cover up that cut line with a bow. I end up die cutting one, so you'll see that in a second. I did tie some gold twine to the top of my tag, and I'll just trim off any excess. This is some May Arts gold twine. It's a beautiful cording. And then here is where I brought in this bow. This is from the Pretty Bows 2 die set from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm cutting it from some of the red metallic cardstock that's in the kit. I just glued that directly over the center of our little pine needles, and I did let the tails hang down inside of the door, so when you open it up, you see the full bow. I think this effect looks really cool. The metallic paper also is really eye-catching. I'm bringing in some dazzling gems. These are not part of the kit, but I wanted some embellishment on my pine needles so that way they had a more festive flair to them. So these red dazzling gems are the cherry color, and I'm just using my craft glue to attach these down. This is going to add just a tiny touch of sparkle to the pine needles and catch the light beautifully. The best part is when you peel open the doors to reveal the message inside. In this case, it's the to and from for who this gift is for. All the fun details that are made possible by using the images from the stamp set really brought this door to life. I love all of the little festive touches, from the wreaths to the garland and then even the little accessories inside. This tag was super fun to pull together, and you could color this door in any color scheme you'd like. You could also, like I said, cut out the windows of the door so that you can turn this into a peekaboo kind of style project, which I think is also a great way to be able to have an interactive touch to your tags. Speaking of tags, I have more to show you, so let's dive into the next project. So there are these great collage tiles in the card kit, and these are sized perfectly to work with the pattern papers that are in the kit. These are from Graphic 45, and I just adore the imagery on these. They are so detailed, classic Christmas images, and the colors are spectacular. I love the touch of blue throughout the pieces. So these collage tiles work with so many of the different aspects of these pattern papers, so it makes it super easy to cut them all out, and they also happen to fit really nice on the pre-made tags that are in the kit. So I've selected quite a few of the pre-made tags, and I've picked out some of the pattern paper pieces that I'm going to use with them. I've already cut them with the collage tiles. And I also selected one of the pattern papers that featured a ton of different borders. I cut all those borders apart using my paper trimmer, and then I'm going to pick some of those out as little accessories to my tags. So these are going to trim some of the little collage panels that I've created. So using my liquid glue, I'm attaching these little borders to my tags, trimming off any excess, and then make sure you keep that excess because these are tags, they're small. These little strips will cover another tag at least, if not two more. These papers are 8x8, so they're a really nice generous size. And then I also wanted to add for this tag a second border. So I'll glue my main panel onto the tag first, and then that will allow me to then add another piece of trim to the other side, which really finishes off the tag. I like that there is a white area left undecorated at the top of the tag, which in my opinion really creates a really nice topper to this project. So I think this design would be really fun to repeat with a lot of the other different panels that are in this paper collection. So once I have my tag assembled with the pretty papers, then I decided to step it up with a little bit of stenciling. I'm pulling in the new Simon Says Stamp Sparkle Paste. This is the silver color. It's so dreamy. I'm going to apply this over top of my pattern paper. Now don't panic, this is a transparent paste. So when I apply the sparkle paste over top and it dries, you're going to see right through it. So you'll be able to still read the beautiful message that's on the tag and still see all of your pretty images, but it's going to have a little snowy sparkle on top, which just really accentuates the design on the tag. Once that dried, I brought in some more of that gold cording that I used earlier, and I'm going to wrap it around my tags. I wanted a touch of metallic on these projects, but I didn't want to have a large bow tied around the tag. Instead, the metallic cord is the perfect delicate touch just to wrap around here and add a little soft bow at the top of the ornament. Speaking of ribbon, I pulled out some of this beautiful plaid ribbon that I have in my stash, and this has just a beautiful color palette to it, which matched perfectly with the colors in our pattern papers. So I thought that was a really nice touch, and I just simply looped that through the whole of the tag. So nothing fancy there, but look at the beautiful sparkle of that snowy detail that we added to the tag. It's a very small touch, but it really finishes everything off. I used a similar process for the other two tags that I created, but I did do them a slightly different. So for this tag, we're going for a vertical design, and I'm going to be using the little cityscape pattern paper panel that I cut out with the collaging tiles. I did add this pretty little border along the bottom, and then I decided to add a second border above it that is just a little bit thinner, and it's going to vary up the thickness that we have along the bottom here. I did also leave a little gap so that there's some white showing, and that's going to trim along the bottom really beautifully. For the panel that is our main focal point of the tag, this is going to get framed up with a little bit of gold glitter paper. This happens to be the Tim Holtz Craft Sparkle stock, and I'm going to use that as the trimming around my piece. So I'll glue that directly to the paper, but then trim off any excess so it's a really nice thin border around the panel. Just like I did for the tag before, I wanted to add the snowy details. So again, we're going to use that silver sparkle paste. Simon Says Stamp does have a gold, so you could also use the gold sparkle paste in this instance as well. I just had the silver out and I liked the snowy feel that it gave, so I decided to stick with that for all of my tags. I used that same ribbon that I used for the first tag, but this time, however, I'm going to use the gold cording to actually tie the ribbon to my tag. Instead of looping the ribbon through the tag and knotting it, I'm actually using the gold cording to secure it. And that just creates a different feel than the first tag, but yet they complement each other because they use similar pieces. The color scheme is also very similar because we use the pattern papers. And then here you can see the fun sparkle from the snow. I just love that. It makes it feel magical and wintry. So that little green tag that you had seen while I was working on these other two, this one I just used a little panel from the pattern papers and then trimmed it up with a couple of red pattern paper strips and then a couple of green ones. These borders looked beautiful framing up the scene, and then I tied that same ribbon and cording along the top to finish it off. Just as I did for the other two tags, there is some snowy sparkle over top of this panel as well. So that's going to complete this set of sweet little tags using the collaging tiles and the pattern papers from the kit. There are so many ways that you can utilize this gift-giving kit to make tags, gift card holders, gift bags, and more. So because of that, I wanted to share with you even more ideas on how you could utilize these products from the kit to make some festive projects. So let's talk about the gift card holder first. I used that other door that I had stamped and colored, and I put that on top of one of the gift card envelopes that's included in the kit. I also added a cute set of lanterns hanging down from the top of my envelope, and then I also embellished the door with a little tree and some presents. When you open up the door, there is just simply the to and from, and I actually secured the door on the left just so that way it would only open up on the right. That allows me to then have those fun little embellishments over on the left. Moving on to gift bags, I love craft bags. They're such a classic, and these pattern papers that are in the kit match so beautifully with craft paper, and I decided to decorate one of the craft bags that's in the kit with some of the pattern papers. So as you can see, I just used some larger panels to decorate the front of the bag, and I also tied a bit of ribbon at the top to close it. There is also something really cute in this kit, and that is this Nutcracker gift box. You get two of them in your kit, and they're so cute. You can use them on their own. You don't have to decorate them, but I decided to enhance my little Nutcracker just a little bit by adding some presents at the bottom. Those were made with the all wrapped up embossing folder and coordinating die, and for these, I happened to cut them from some colored cardstocks. But then I also took some wax. This was Lisa Horton wax in the iridescent color, and I just burnished that wax over top of the raised areas of my presents to create that gilded look. And then the other finishing touch that I added to this project was a little tag that I made with the little window tags that's included in the kit. These are so tiny and adorable, and they are perfect for making little shaker tags. So all I did was put some foam tape between the two pieces, sandwich them together after filling them with a little piece of the pattern paper and some gold beads. A couple of trim pieces on the front and then some stars were another little embellishment touch that I added to the front of the tag. But then that dressed up my Nutcracker perfectly, and then I can fill it with some fun candy and give this as a little sweet treat to somebody for the holidays. So there's a lot to do in this kit. These are just some out of many ideas that Simon Says Stamp is sharing over on their blog. You can check out their blog to see even more inspiration using this gift giving kit. So I'll have a link to that below in the video description as well as on my blog so that you can see what others are creating as well. And don't forget, if you miss out on the kit because it is limited edition, pretty much everything in the kit is available for individual purchase. So if you liked something, including those little nutcracker boxes, you can find those over at simonsaysstamp.com. Thanks so much for watching today's video, friends. I will be back very soon with more to share. But until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.